Do you know what a shoot the duck is?
I have no idea what you're
How
talking
come nobody
about.
knows what shooting the duck is?
What is this?
It's where you go down on one skate and you hold the other. Isn't
oh,
that
yeah,
called
I know
shooting
how to
the duck?
shoot the duck.
Okay, I'm good.
Yeah.
Right on.
Walt Disney's Magic Kingdom Disneyland is growing every day.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls.
Disneyland, the happiest place on earth.
It's time to throw down, y'all.
Have you thought about a visit to Disneyland during your vacation?
You can waste time with your friends when your chores are done.
Disneyland is the happiest place on earth. Join the happy people of all ages. Yes, there's more fun at Disneyland in Anaheim. The happiest country on earth.
Welcome to Bobsleds and Banthas, a podcast about Disneyland, Star Wars, finding magic, and the power of nostalgia. On this episode, we're talking about shareholders want Bob Chapek to get the old Michael Eisner. Disney pins their hopes on Boba Fett and the Beatles. Lightyear drops another trailer. And in our main segment, it's been 25 years since the Star Wars special editions were released in theaters, dominating the box office, infuriating fans, and reigniting the love for a galaxy far, far away. We wax nostalgia on the special editions and what that has meant for Star Wars fans young and old. My name is Scott Storm, and with me, my brother on the mic, a man who prefers shooting the duck to a Crazy Legs grapevine.
Oh, yeah.
It's absolute Aaron Robbins.
That's right. I'm a backwards roller skating rhapsody of roller rink good times.
You wear your big long tube socks.
I do. I pull
your
them up.
short neon shorts.
As short as I can
and
get
you
them.
shoot that duck all day long.
Yeah, I do. I shoot that duck. You got to be careful when you go short shorts and
Short
shoot the
shorts
duck.
and shooting the duck.
Yeah, it's a combo move.
You got to
Well,
make sure those shorts are short but very tight.
But right, in
Super
all
tight.
exactly. Welcome to episode 92, where we just got done doing Patreon, having a bunch of fun talking about roller skating rinks and pinball machines, everything that grown men who
are in their mid 40s that are
should-
pining for their youth, the joy that they had in their youth, would talk about. Yeah, we did a lot of talk on our Patreon.
Yeah, I would say for a
about-
midlife crisis, ours is fun.
Ours is healthy.
Ours is healthy.
This
and
is what I
whimsical.
maintain. For a midlife crisis, we're not buying Corvettes.
No.
We're not getting our ears pierced.
Nope.
We're not running off with a 20-year-old.
Nope.
We are talking about, hey, how do we make more joyous experiences for our families and ourselves?
Our wives are like, I knew they were going to have midlife crisis. I didn't know they were going to want to be like the guy that invented Flubber. But
Yeah,
I think that's what they want.
Yeah. Oh, is he buying another He-Man figure?
Right? You guys don't want a car or a motorcycle? Like,
I mean,
no.
just, can you do something that's just a little bit more cliche?
We want to be mad scientists, and that's what we're going to do.
We're creating a machine that turns you into cotton candy.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Welcome to episode 92, a Star Wars
92.
episode. Also, lots of fun Disneyland stuff going on. How has your week been, though?
My week has been good. My week has been really good. You and I got a chance to do a little off-road one-wheeling recently.
Yeah, just
which is
a
lot
little
of
while
fun.
ago.
Yeah, just a little while ago.
Fun. I only almost fell once. Last time I went and fell and cut my ankle open through
You
my
did
socks.
a great job today.
Yeah.
You did a great
In
job.
front of a female soccer team was out there practicing.
Yeah,
They
that's
kind of
not.
paused.
That doesn't put any pressure on
Yeah.
you whatsoever.
They kind of paused and they're like, is that my professor
Oh.
in a helmet?
Is that my dad?
Exactly.
Yeah.
No, it's definitely not my dad.
Nope, it's not. Don't look at me. I'm just over here.
Yeah, but it was fun.
Yeah, it was fun.
What else is new?
Let me tell you some things
Okay.
that we should be very excited
What's
about.
brewing? What's brewing over there?
I want to say to the listener,
Okay.
we have launched on YouTube.
Oh, yeah, I saw that. It was all in my feed, and I was like, what is all this bobsled stuff?
And you're like, what? Bobsleds and Banthas
It's got a
on
little,
YouTube.
it's got like a thumbnail, and then it plays a little like audio waveform.
That's
on there.
right.
Yeah.
So, YouTube is the number one platform for
Media.
creative content media discovery.
Doesn't matter. It's a video platform, but you can put whatever you want
Put
up there.
whatever you want
Yep.
on there. Doesn't matter. Put your old snapshots on.
Yep.
People will find it. So we're on YouTube right now. Bobsleds and Banthas is the YouTube channel. This is what we would love.
Uh-oh.
We know that wherever you are listening to this right now, this is your preferred podcast platform.
Good.
We acknowledge that. We don't want you to change that.
No, I
at
like
all.
being in your ears. I don't need to be in your eyes.
We don't need you to move over to YouTube. But what we would love is if you went over to YouTube and you subscribe to the Bobsleds and Banthas
Oh, right.
channel.
Just listen. We're just expecting you to listen to every episode twice now.
I'm not expecting anybody to listen. I'm just
let it
asking,
play in the background.
Just do me a favor and subscribe.
There you go.
I'm not even going to say smash that like button. I'm not going to say that.
Don't need
and
to.
I do not want you to ring that bell for notifications.
No, there's
Because
no need.
There's no need.
Yeah.
But if you could go over and subscribe to our YouTube channel, that would really help with other people discovering Bobsleds and Banthas on this enormous media platform called YouTube. We really, really appreciate that.
Oh, wow. Right at the beginning of the show.
Well, yeah, I'm making a call to action right now.
I think that we should roll that right into the news because I had a good week. You had a good week. Launched on YouTube. We got a bunch to talk about.
We do have a bunch to talk about.
Have we been funny enough?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, well, let's go into the news anyways.
Well, before we do,
okay, what do you got?
I have another big announcement to make.
What do you got?
I want to thank one of our newest patrons over on our Patreon.
They get into that shoot the duck level?
He got on that shoot the duck level. He is currently supporting us to open up a fully 80s themed roller rink.
Right on.
So that we could potentially break even or take a gigantic bath.
Right on it.
On our investment. But Michael joined us over on Patreon.
Thanks,
we just want to thank him for subscribing to our Patreon and thank you to all of our patrons who have been supporting us for the past couple of years. We really got
an episode ready to come out from last week, and then this one is 30 minutes of roller skating rink and the best business ideas. It's basically like Step Brothers 2.
Yeah, pretty much.
It's the sequel to Step Brothers.
Listen, if you want to steal any of our harebrained schemes, you are more than welcome to.
We just want lifetime passes.
Well, that's all we want.
That's all we want.
That's all we want.
All right, now let's get into the news.
Let's get into that. Let's noodle in that yodel. It's time for news. Oh.
Remain seated, please.
Mr. Storm.
Are you sure you want to start?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Okay, good.
These are not quoted from official places. These are just things that are happening around the Disneyland Resort that you should be aware of. One of them is that
musings via Aaron.
Yes, downtown Disney.
Yes,
lots of stuff happening at downtown Disney. That Earl of Sandwich is closed.
Gone.
Starbucks is closed.
Out of there.
Sugar Boo is closed.
Nope. I mean, nope, it's not there anymore.
No, yeah. I mean, it is closed.
I mean, yes. I mean, yes, it is closed.
And I think the AMC complex, the movie theater complex, I believe that's gated off as well. Just pending lots of stuff coming to downtown Disney.
And what are those things?
I don't know. One of the things I do know is that it's going to get a mid-century look, which is a sort of a departure from where it's at now, but it's going to get a mid-century look and some new...
More along the lines of the way Disney California Adventure looks? Or are we talking more like... mid-century modern 50s 60s aesthetic like Tomorrowland?
Yeah, I don't know. I hope they don't go that 50s and 60s route because that seems a little cliche to me. But I like the entrance to to Disney's California Adventure.
Right? Cool. Yeah.
So those are the big renovations downtown Disney.
That's a lot. That's a lot to close in that area.
It's a lot to close, especially in that back area where Earl of Sandwich was and the movie theater was there.
Not to mention those stores that you identified. Those are good earners too. So that's a lot of
Lego store doing a lot of work down there now.
Oh yeah.
Other things happening in downtown Disney and around that area is the Disneyland Resort is celebrating Black History Month in what they call Celebrate Soulfully. I
saw this.
Their title of it. Dude, they just got tons of stuff happening. It's really great. Tons of they got music places and jazz bands and live stuff going on everywhere.
Oh, that's awesome.
But one of the coolest things I saw is they have this artist. Her name is Marcella Sweat. Marcella Sweat, and she's been with Disney for a long time. Done tons. She's like a senior production artist at Disney, and she's doing chalk murals on the ground. And I don't know if you're into chalk murals. We have this thing.
I'm a fan.
Yeah, a Finn.
I'm also a fan.
A fan and a fan of them. Yeah. I'm also a fan and a fan.
You are?
Of them.
I call it Fin Fan. That's what I call it.
I go Fin Fan on the chalk murals all day long. Mm-hmm. Have you been to Chalk It Up in Sacramento?
Yes. Chalk It Up is a great little weekend event down in Midtown Sacramento where just artists descend on all the sidewalks in...
around a park there on 16th.
Around 16th and P.
Yeah.
And just great. Just like a fun festival.
Yeah, the artwork ranges at those from I Didn't Show Up and terrible to wow, super impressive.
A friend of ours, a neighbor's daughter, actually won one of the awards there one year. Yeah, for work
it's cool. She did. This production artist at Disney, Marcella Sweat, her stuff's amazing. Yeah, and she's doing them. She's doing them in that area, so you can go.
So cool.
Yeah, it's really really cool. So those are my two downtown Disney and Disney Resort items. I got a bunch of other stuff going, but you want to take a news? You want to take a shot at a news item?
Yeah. Well, Disney's earning call is coming up. Will have passed by the time you're listening to this episode. So it'll be interesting to see how that earnings call goes. But there's
earnings call something you literally just dial into and listen.
If you're a shareholder, you can listen to how the Disney company is doing.
Well, I want to thank y'all for calling in.
Yep. You can hear statements from Bob Chapek, probably from the CFO, about the state of the Disney company, how they have done and what they are looking forward to. And one of the things that will be of note in that earnings call, we'll get to the big one.
Right.
Now, I don't know if it's going to be part of the earnings call, but there's news surrounding the earnings call. But there was a lot of discussion on MSN Money about the need for Disney to focus on Disney Plus streaming, and specifically how well two streaming shows did, The Book of Boba Fett and Beatles Get Back, and on whether or not those two shows, supported by some of the other shows like Hawkeye and that sort of thing, have reignited or increased subscriber growth to the Disney Plus streaming service.
Boba Fett, because of all that news of like, no, I mean, I got to subscribe to Disney Plus. It can't be like you're saying.
What's going on?
It can't be as bad as you're saying. I have to. Subscriptions are up. People have to see this.
They got to see it. MSN Money says that Disney will need to hit or exceed 8.5 million new subscribers, according to estimates, which would bring the total to 127 million subscribers by the end of 2021, which would be half of Disney's 2024 goals.
Okay.
Right?
That's a lot.
That's a lot.
Any business model that relies on that level of subscriber growth is really a hard business to be in.
I am surprised, Disney was so aggressive in their initial rollout of Disney Plus that to me it feels like the Netflix model, right? Like if you haven't subscribed to Disney Plus by this time, you're probably not going to.
It's certainly, I don't think you're going to be like Disney. It sounds familiar. They do.
What do they do?
Balloons. So yeah, I think a lot of people have heard about it, and I think we're past the period of people waiting to see what it was going to be.
Yeah, like who's not subscribing to Disney Plus at this point?
So it needs the Netflix model, and it needs a Stranger Things. It needs HBO and HBO's Game of Thrones. It needs something where people are like, I wasn't planning on subscribing to it,
right?
But now I don't see any way that I can't, because I have to have this media.
But that's what I'm saying about the Disney Plus platform itself. Yeah. Like the audience that is going to subscribe to Disney Plus has likely already done that, because you were there for the Disney Vault and all the old Disney movies. I mean, The Mandalorian itself brought a lot of people who were not interested in the Vault. I can't imagine that Beatles Get Back and The Book of Boba Fett are bringing in new subscribers.
No, The Mandalorian got all the Boba Fett people.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
Nobody was like, I'm not interested in The Mandalorian.
So maybe the Beatles generate some stuff.
No.
I will tell you this. My father-in-law, who is Beatles fan number one, he was like, "Oh, I gotta subscribe to Disney Plus because of the Beatles documentary series that's coming out." And I was like, "Well, I just make a profile for you. Why don't I just make a profile for you?" And he's like, "Well, yeah, why wouldn't you?"
Yeah,
and I go, "Well, you're not going to watch anything else on Disney Plus."
That's all I'm interested in.
So even if he was the type of guy that subscribed for the free week, watched the miniseries, and then unsubscribed, like, again, how many of those people are subscribing to Disney Plus because of the Beatles Get Back?
Yeah. We could talk about Disney Plus forever. I don't think they've figured their thing out yet, and I don't think the shows that they have, this would get into a whole thing. It would get into a whole thing of Luke Skywalker, The Mandalorian, and Boba Fett, and
that's for next week.
And we're not ready to get into that.
We're not ready to get into it because we'll be talking about it next week, because this is the finale week of The Book of Boba Fett, and so we'll get into it.
Next week.
Now, what Bob Chapek is going to want, he's going to want those extra million subscribers. In order to justify his job, because there is a lot of outrage right now being generated over Reddit from shareholders talking about, hey, we need to be pressuring the Disney board to get Bob Chapek out of there as CEO, because
in
they
a very
furious.
old way. Because there's been a petition at change.org or whatever that's asked for his resignation for quite a while, a couple of months at least. But there's this groundswelly shareholder vote request now that's very similar to the Save Disney era of Michael Eisner and Roy Disney. It's got a lot of those
it's got a lot of those
sounds to it.
Right, and those who may be unfamiliar, and I think actually this is probably a good news story that would be a jumping off point for sort of a Disney look back at Disney history type of thing. When Michael Eisner was falling out of favor with shareholders, and with some pretty big shareholders, I might add, a Steve Jobs level shareholders, there was a big push at that point to get Michael Eisner out of the company, sort of through the shareholder revolt, very similar to what we're seeing right now with Bob Chapek.
Yeah. And it's not, I mean, I think with Michael Eisner, I think with this, they're not looking to, because a lot of the Disney company is held, the shares of those are held by investment companies.
Conglomerations or companies, right?
And they tend to vote a specific way, and they vote all those shares that way. So it's really hard to vote out. But what you can do is if you can get enough of a no confidence vote in that, even if it's not a majority or whatever, it does signal to the company that like, well, look, we're not on this. And I'll share a little bit about that in my next news item.
Well, I think the interesting thing here is there was a follow-up. So this generated a lot of buzz on the internet. And there was a follow-up that was posted over on NASDAQ.com.
Yeah.
They wrote a blog post on NASDAQ where they talked about how can the shareholders, create enough momentum, enough pressure in order to get a CEO fired. They can. Will that happen in this case? Likely not, because the biggest complaining surrounds the Disney parks. Yeah. And it's not surrounding, what's happening in the home video market or Disney streaming or production of their feature films and that sort of thing. And that the theme park and the upcharge of theme parks is something that fans are legitimately angry about. But is there enough of a voting block of them to actually pressure Chapek or pressure to the board in order to remove Chapek from his position? Probably not. Yeah. Because this article points out that what fans are complaining about are longer lines and higher prices. And what most shareholders hear when they hear that is, we're doing great. Yeah, we're making more money.
There's a lot of people that are willing to pay for this?
Yeah. If it was like it's completely empty and we've been raising prices, like maybe that would trigger shareholders.
Or they were losing ground to Universal or Six Flags or something like that. I think the things he has going for him are that he's new, and so he's not been given a fair shake. He took over during COVID, so he's not given a fair shake. A lot of their business, their departments, their divisions are doing fine. I think the theme parks are even doing fine when it comes to COVID.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's really the magic is gone thing.
Right.
So I think what you can hope for is being like, we heard you. You're very unhappy with the way things are going. We are committed to looking for. I bet you that's the answer you're going to get. We're committed to looking at those things, making improvements, and that's about it.
I mean, the truth of the matter is that until, and we've mentioned this on the show before, right? Until guests vote with their wallet and just say, I'm not going to Disney anymore. It's too expensive. It's too busy. The upcharges, until they go, hey, listen, I love this thing and I want to experience this thing, but I'm refusing to. Unless that actually happens, like, why would Disney do anything different? They're like, okay, we talked about last week, right? We're actively trying to find ways for you to not come here because of our capacity. And yet you don't take a hint. You keep coming here and giving us more money.
Yeah, so I think Eisner, I hear it compared to the Eisner thing. Eisner's situation was very different. He was failing on lots of different levels, and he was he had entrenched himself, and he had been there for a while.
Well, and his ego, caused him to make some very bad, stubborn decisions.
Yeah, I love that era of Disney. It is
fascinating.
So I can't wait to talk about it with you sometime in the future. If we don't quit this at 100. Sometime we'll get to the Eisner.
I mean, if we don't
get Eisner on this show,
what if we have to quit it because our roller rink business idea is just blowing up and we can't?
We'll do like a live. We'll do like a bobsleds and roll-ins or something.
Yeah,
once a month. Or
we just record the entire show as we're going around
doing roller skates. Yeah, we have one mic we mount it at the end of the roller skating ring, and as we skate by that mic, we do a quick little thing. Right. Exactly.
What are?
You want to hear about Magic Key Holder Month?
Do I?
Well, that's
not only am I not a magic key holder,
okay,
I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, it's the month they're celebrating magic key holders. Okay, key holders by they get some food and some special photo spots and maybe some special meet and greets.
Tell me more.
No, I can't tell you about. Oh, they get a collectible pin. But here's what's interesting. In the news, this was over at MiceAge, in the news article that was talking about the features of Magic Key Holder Month, MiceAge did a poll asking people how happy they were with their Magic Key.
Okay.
And they got 4,000 respondents, which I think is a decent number to make some sort of...
good sample size.
Yeah, it's a good sample size. Yeah. Of those 4,000 readers that shared their feelings with MiceAge about how they were feeling about their Magic Key, 60% were unhappy or very unhappy with being a Magic Key holder, and 25% were happy or very happy, and the remainder had no feelings about their Magic Key.
Did they identify what was making them unhappy?
Not in that poll. I think it was just sort of a like, are you glad you're a Magic Key holder? And some people, 60% were like, no, I'm not.
Far majority.
I'm not. Yeah, it was a huge majority. And of that, I think it was 40% were at the very unhappy, the lowest level you can, which you that's a rage vote. Like that's not really how you feel. Right. You're trying to send a message.
Yeah.
And this is what we're seeing at Disney. We just talked about that. Want to talk about Toon Town real quick?
If you want to talk about Toon Town.
I want to talk about Toon Town because it's getting a massive refurbishment.
massive refurbishment.
So it's going to be closed here pretty soon.
Yep.
And they're doing this weird thing there that I've never heard of before. Maybe they did this kind of stuff in Florida.
Yeah.
I've never heard of it, and I'm not saying it didn't ever happen at Disneyland, just that I didn't know about it. But right now you can pay $350 and you can have a 90-minute party with you and your group inside Mickey's house in Toon Town. So for $350, you get to take a group photo with
90
Mickey.
minutes.
It's a 90-minute gathering at Mickey's house for up to 10 guests. You can take a photo with Mickey and receive complimentary downloads of that photo. You can decorate cupcakes with Mickey. You can participate in crafts, building crafts.
Where do you think
and
they
you can
do
get
that?
quick entry into Gadget's Go Coaster.
Oh, well, whew, good. You mean I get front of the line access to Gadget's Go
You get
Coaster?
to walk on, and as you're walking on, the ride's
You walk
already over.
right off, 'cause you're done.
already right off it.
Are you serious? They are promoting access to Gadget's Go Coaster as one of the benefits
I think
of
when
this?
you're at the end of your 90 minutes, the 10 people, I think they walk you on to Gadget's Go Coaster. Because why
They're
not?
like, see you later.
You paid $350 to do that, which seems kind of low to me. To have a
Don't
private...
you think that if you were going to spend $350 for 90 minutes, you should be able to ride Gadget's Go Coaster as many times as you want?
in those 90
Which
minutes?
is probably like 3 times at the most anyways.
No way, 90 minutes? That's the 700 laps.
No, I know you could do it 700
Right.
times.
But
I'm
after
saying how
the
many
third
times do
time,
you
you're
want
like,
to
yeah.
do it?
You're like, I'm good. I
Like,
get it.
I get it. It's fine. It's cute.
So $350 to me seemed
For how many? 10 people?
10 people for 90 minutes in Mickey's house. I assume alone-ish.
To make cupcakes with
Cupcakes,
Mickey?
do crafts, have your picture taken, and go for 10 people, $350. I think I pay that at Chuck E. Cheese. That's a whole different mouse.
So are you saying that's a good value or a bad value?
To me, that feels like a good value to be able to carve out that section of a park. That doesn't seem like a ton of money to me.
It doesn't seem like, I agree with you. For 10 people, it does not seem like a ton of money. I mean,
just the date night thing, which is sold out. You can't go to date night at Disney right now, but it was $110 per person.
Sure. Right. I mean, again, if you are splitting this up over a group of 10, then that's
And it is only 90 minutes, and you get Gadget's Go Coaster once. But you get cupcakes.
That's true. It comes in a little bit cheaper than, or a little bit more expensive than the price of going on Star Wars Rise of the Resistance.
Sure. Right.
And that's a 20-minute experience. So,
they're just going to figure out how to commoditize every part of that park.
I just don't see where that is and I don't want to bag on it, but it seems like, is that really a special experience? I don't know if that's a special experience.
If I get that
Mickey's
whole house
Mickey's house is neat.
But if they close it and I get it alone for 90 minutes
To
have
do
my
what? What are you
I'm
gonna
have my
do?
kid's birthday party in there. We're going to sing. We're going to do the cupcake thing.
Where? What room are you going to do that in?
Oh, I'll probably do it
It's
in the
a
washer
cube.
and dryer
The
room.
whole
'cause
thing is a giant cube.
Yeah, it is. I like the room with the ship in the bottle. We'll probably do it in there. We'll sing in there.
Yeah, I do like that. I like where his easy chair is.
I just think it's interesting. I don't know that there aren't other groups of 10 in there with you, but for $350
No, wait a second. Are
Okay.
you telling me that there are multiple? If there are multiple groups of 10 doing this, that is a bad value.
Yeah, I would agree. If I get the whole house for 90 minutes and it's kind of anything I want to do in that house for 10 minutes, for 90 minutes, I think $350 feels about right to me.
This brings up a good question.
Okay.
If you could rent out any space in Disneyland for
a
90
party.
minutes for a party of 10 of you, there's 10 of you, where would that be? What would you do?
Yeah.
And let's assume that it's not a thing where you get to ride the ride continually for 90 minutes. Let's say great, you get to go on it once or twice or whatever it is. For 90 minutes, what place are you spending that time that's 100% yours?
The Blue Bayou Pirates of the Caribbean area.
Okay.
That's a good
one.
That would be the top of my list.
Yeah, that'd be
I don't
fun.
feel like I need to reserve this, but I've always wanted to have a birthday party in the Golden Horseshoe without other people coming in. If I could have gotten the Billy Hill. Walt used to have parties in there to celebrate stuff. So I feel like that's should. Those probably Blue Bayou is probably the top of my list.
That's a good pick.
Yeah.
That's a good pick. I mean, I would probably go with
Star Tours queue. Just close that sucker down. Get on that light speeder.
it's not a bad idea, to be totally honest.
Yeah,
That queue's
in
amazing.
that first area when you get inside.
You lift up all the stanchions so you have that whole place.
Yeah.
Turn it into a roller rink.
Right, with a little slope to it.
Yep. Yeah.
It kind of goes downhill.
You get momentum as you're going down. You come back up.
Reprogram C-3PO says, "Good skills, sir.
Oh, wonderful job.
Shoot the duck." I say.
I think if I could have any space, Indiana Jones experience, Indiana Jones adventure, have the entire temple, be able to explore that temple for as long as you want.
For 90 minutes.
For 90 minutes, just sort of hanging out in there.
You do a scavenger hunt for the 10 guests.
I mean, granted, for 90 minutes, most people stand in the queue for that.
Yeah, so you're already doing this.
But I think just having, I think the feeling of being in there with just you and 9 of your closest friends in this enormous temple that's dark and cavernous and quiet, I think that would be really cool because that would really have that experience and that feeling of what that temple should feel like for an explorer.
Yeah.
That'd be fun.
Yeah, if we're going all out, 90 minutes, I get the whole thing. I just shut the ride down for a little while while we do the cake and the balloons on the loading platform for Indiana.
Yeah.
And then at the end of that, then you fire the ride up. We do one thing and we leave.
I mean, you do your Indiana Jones cosplay, right? You're taking pictures outside the temple, and there's so many different set pieces in that queue.
When
you can have really great photos.
When you do the frosting on the cake, you just throw me the whip. But you mean like...
Yeah. The ready
whip.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
You do a whole ready whip joke.
Yeah, perfect. That's great. Fantastic. I love it.
That's what's going on at Toon Town.
Well, I would say that's exciting.
It's interesting. It's going to close. It's going to close and it's going to come back as something else.
Have you seen what the concept art for what Toon Town looks like? It looks really cool.
Does it? Yeah.
They're doing for Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway, they're doing a toonified El Capitan theater.
Oh, fun!
And so
that's awesome.
The facade looks really cool.
I love
the concept for the facade looks really cool.
I will say that in doing that last news article, I realized that I think that I have been in Toon Town with my kids for the last time, and I don't like Toon Town has not.
You mean Toon Town as it was?
Right? Yeah, and it has never stood in like. For me, it opened when I was older.
Yeah.
So it's never had that that legacy sort of like passing on one thing to the next generation. But when I think about it being a parent, my kids kind of grew up in Toon Town and I spent a lot of time in there with them. So there is like a little level of sadness of getting the hot dogs from that stand and having Pluto come out and Kennedy got bark thrown at her in that little play area. And all that kind of stuff. It is like a tiny bit sad that is over. Like that's over. I think it's going to be great, but
I think it's going to be great too. I think especially where Toon Town was.
Yeah.
When it finally, because there's so much of that had been
it has some problems.
Carved away, right? Yeah. That the original Toon Town, to see that go is sad, but we haven't had original Toon Town for decades at this point.
Do you have any nostalgic feelings for Toon Town?
Just as a young adult,
okay.
I was a huge, I loved Roger Rabbit when it came out. Yeah. So the idea of having a town, a themed land that was pretty much anchored around Roger Rabbit was a lot of fun. It was the first time I ever went to Disneyland by myself. Or without a parent, I should say, was after Toon Town was open, shortly after Toon Town was open. So exploring that space and the gag factory and all that type of stuff. Like there's a lot to love there, even though I do think it's very dated in terms of its references. Like I don't think any kid resonates with Roger Rabbit at this point, and so it makes sense. But yeah, I mean, I love Toon Town. I think what it's aiming to be will be even better. Like I'm really looking forward to.
It's going to be totally better.
What that's
you only have that one experience with your kids where they're young and you're tired and it's dark in Disneyland and it's cold and you just you don't intend to make Toontown a part of your life because you're like, we're only here to relax because there's no crowds here right now.
Yeah, right.
But then in doing that, it does become a part of your life. And so I just realized that was the end of probably the Symphony Fountain and the Roger Rabbit Fountain. It's cool.
Sweet to remember that.
Yeah,
Gadgets is still going to be there, so you still have that.
Oh, good. Yeah.
That's never going to go away.
Yeah, I think.
Why don't they retheme that?
Yeah.
I mean, seriously, like just make it, I don't know, anything.
Like a Chippendale, like going through the trees.
Thing.
Like an acorn stormer, like type of thing. That's
anything.
What you need.
Anything.
Chippendale build a paper airplane or like an airplane out of like twigs, and you're flying through the trees collecting acorns.
Anything.
Or anything.
It is a reference to a third or fourth tier character from a syndicated cartoon TV show in the 90s.
Yeah, it's super.
It's so like, what is this?
Yeah.
Who is this? Hey, before we get out of the news.
We got lots more new stuff.
We do have lots of news.
Do you have more?
Oh, yeah. The Smithsonian is doing a Disney Parks and American Story exhibit. And they are
going to fly to Washington, D.C. for that?
Yeah.
Okay.
But they are encouraging families to send photos of their Disney trips to include in a display in the Smithsonian.
Oh, fun.
Explores the
collage
American
those
experience through Disney Parks.
They do the little photos that make a big picture, and it's the castle.
Yeah. That's my photo.
I'm there. I'm in the archway. I'm one of the chains.
Oh, man.
Yeah. And then Splash Mountain is down right now, January 10th to March 7th. Splash Mountain is down, not getting the Princess and the Frog overlay, just getting a massive refurbishment, which apparently was in
animatronics updates. And lighting
some
of
the overlays on them were ripping, and so the conveyor belt's off. Everything's off. It's going to be it's going to be a brand new Splash Mountain, but not Princess and the Frog. Are they doing that or not?
I don't know.
I feel like they're not doing it.
There was a rumor out there that they're going to update Disneyland Splash Mountain, but may keep Magic Kingdom Splash Mountain as is.
Huh.
Which I say that's what they should do.
Yeah.
You should have two different Splash Mountain experiences.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
We already do. You guys can sit next to each other and we get to sit single file. We do it Tusken Raider style. To hide our numbers.
You have to hide your numbers.
Exactly.
Yeah. We go side by side.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. That was the news.
That way you can snuggle up next to your sweetheart.
Yeah. You have to like reach for your kids.
Yeah.
It's going to be fine.
It's going to be fine. Don't worry.
Then
You're
why
not
are
going
you
to go
holding
out.
on to me so tight? Because I don't know. Okay.
Really quick story. I don't think we're going to cover it. Apparently there was a former Disney princess who made a TikTok talking about how people used to tip her or try to tip her. And this made the internet. And I was going to respond to it.
Like the internet has stuff it won't print.
Yeah, the internet's like, we'll run with that.
Yeah, that's okay. Yeah, we like that.
Anyways, I thought it was interesting. I just wanted to say, never, ever acting as a character did anybody try to tip me money.
Yeah.
I just wanted to say that.
Did you have training on how to reject that tip?
I don't even think... No, I don't think so. I think they just said, don't accept money. You can't accept money. And I thought like, wait, you can get money for this?
Yeah.
I had people...
you can get money for this?
What?
Wait, this is an employable skill?
Oh man, this is great. I mean, I did have guests that gave me gifts.
Like
before.
What?
They got stuffed animals. I've been always giving stuffed animals before.
I get that. Okay. They were giving them to Prince Charming.
I was given stuffed animals as fur characters. I don't know if I ever received anything as a face character.
Did you keep
I tell
that
you what
stuff?
I didn't get. I didn't get money.
So that's the one you care about.
That's the one I care about, but apparently
all-night roller skating tickets or cash.
Whichever one. I'll take
but
either.
You didn't get either.
Aladdin loves both.
Right.
Yeah.
Aladdin loves both.
He loves all night. He shoots a duck all night long.
Yeah, he does. He's right next to me.
Right. I can shoot the duck. That's the song that he sings.
Yeah.
Anyways, I don't want to spend any more time on this. I just thought it was interesting. There's an article where this young woman says like, oh, Disney Works really tells us like we can't accept money.
Yeah.
And people try to give it to us in these different ways. They try to bake it in muffins or put it in a water
wow,
bottle.
that's
And
elaborate.
I'm like, who is this person? What is this person talking about?
Yeah.
I've never had this experience before.
No.
And I was a character for 5 years.
Yeah.
Face character for 5 years. Like I never had that experience.
Yeah.
Maybe I just wasn't a good face character.
I don't know. We tried to tip the piano player at Refreshment Corner.
Yeah.
So we gave Kenny whatever to go tip the piano player. She loves the piano and was just mesmerized, and he wouldn't accept it at all.
So like, what did he do? There's not a tip jar. So
no, there's not
a
tip jar. I think he said like, "Oh no, I'm here for the love of the
slip it into his arm garter."
Yeah,
what was he trying to do?
I think he put it back in her hand and was something about him just like enjoying playing, and that was enough or something like that. But it was very like it was a very Disney moment of. Like this is reward enough. Like there's no other thought in my head. My thought is
that I can get fired if I accept this.
Right. The other than that it's on books and I signed something. There is the idea that I am here to entertain you.
I mean, I think that is a part of the Disney magic, right? It is, yeah. This is what they're here to do. They exist here because they are here to make magic for you.
Right. And she said, no, that wasn't for you. It was for Bob Paycheck. And he was like,
okay.
Totally
that goes in a different envelope.
That's a different envelope. Yeah.
That one is accepted.
There's a jar on the side.
Yeah.
Just kidding, Bob. You're doing great. I think you'll be fine.
Debatable. We'll see how that earnings call goes. So last thing before we get into our big thing.
It's been a fun news segment.
It's been a great news segment. Yeah. The Lightyear trailer, the official Lightyear trailer dropped today at the time of recording. Mm-hmm. And I was wondering whether or not you watched it, what your thoughts are on it.
Do you want to discuss it?
I think we should, don't you?
Yeah.
Let's do it.
GNC, go. Fido, go. Guide, go, flight.
Cabin pressurization is underway.
As we prepare for ignition. Flight recorders are on. T-minus 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. We have liftoff.
Let all the children boogie.
To infinity.
And...
I like Baycats instead of socks for the name of that cat.
Baycats instead of like Baymax?
Yeah.
I like that.
Baycats. He reminded me of Baymax. Yeah, that's a trailer, all right.
It's a trailer for the Buzz Lightyear movie.
Buzz Lightyear movie. Wow,
they call it Lightyear.
Lightyear. It looks amazing. So,
Pixar's Lightyear.
Just real quick, I know that I'm on a Disney podcast. This is a movie about the guy that actually inspired the toy or about the TV show that inspired the toy.
You know, Aaron, I'm so glad you asked that.
Please, because I'm just slightly confused on that.
Why don't we go
32% of the people that watch this think that's still the toy.
This comes straight from Disney PR.
Okay, great.
Releasing June 17th, 2022. That's this year.
That's coming up.
The definitive origin story of Buzz Lightyear, the hero who inspired the toy, follows the legendary Space Ranger on an intergalactic adventure. Buzz's world was always something I was excited about, said the director, Angus MacLean.
Oh, yeah.
In Toy Story, there seemed to be this incredible backstory to him being a space ranger that's only touched upon. And I always wanted to explore that world further. So my Lightyear pitch was, what was the movie that Andy saw that made him want a Buzz Lightyear toy?
Okay.
And I wanted to see that movie. And now I'm lucky enough to get to make it.
I love that concept.
So to answer your question.
Yeah, I'm still a little confused.
It is the movie that Andy sees about a character named Buzz Lightyear.
Good.
I think it's Andy watching Star Wars in the Toy Story world.
Okay.
And that's what it is.
That's fine.
I don't think it's based on any person in the Toy Story world.
Right. And in Buzz Lightyear, this isn't this isn't a narrative film about a very real Buzz Lightyear. This is the movie that Andy would have watched.
Correct.
Okay.
So to your point that you made a few episodes ago about this being a horribly confusing concept.
Yeah.
Now I totally agree with you.
Yeah.
Before I was like, no, it's a Buzz Lightyear origin story. Everybody knows what that is. And they're like, yeah, but it'd be easier just to call it Toy Story 5.
Right.
And I was like, you don't know what you're talking about, old man. Yeah. It's a Buzz Lightyear origin story.
Yeah.
And now I watched that trailer and I'm like, what is this movie
When is
about?
this happening? Where is it going?
Who
is it a
the
toy?
main character? Where's Tim Allen?
Yeah.
How come Tim Allen's nowhere around
to
here?
Woody? And I think that in the posters, at least for it, I felt like the Buzz Lightyear looked more human and gritty and stuff.
Very much.
And then
so.
I feel like in this trailer, there were some shots where it verged back towards toy-ish.
Well, yes.
So I feel like that's going to just be confusing. I guarantee this will be a good story. I guarantee that. How people conceptualize the story in the Toy Story universe, I have no idea.
I don't know what to make of this movie anymore after watching this trailer. Was the trailer very enjoyable? It absolutely was.
It's cute. It's got all the Pixar stuff we love.
Like, am I looking forward to a Pixar science fiction story that's not WALL-E? Yes.
Definitely.
Do I like the idea of doing a Buzz Lightyear full length movie? Yeah.
Yeah.
But connecting these dots of like there is this Toy Story universe.
Yeah.
And in this Toy Story universe, there is a movie.
Right.
That is about this character that inspires the toy.
Yeah.
That suddenly becomes what I thought was very meta before.
Yeah.
Is now like I
so
can't.
Who am I? Who am I in this world? Who am I in this world? Right. Exactly.
Am I someone that is watching a movie with Andy? Am I watching this movie with Andy?
Am I like a slumber party? It's cool.
And then my next thought was like, well, wait a second. If this is the movie that Andy watched, how come it looks so good?
Yeah.
Shouldn't it look like 1995 CGI?
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
That was my thought.
To assume further that it was a cartoon in a cartoon. It was a cartoon in a 3D world, or it was a live action.
Is this a cartoon or is this a live action movie?
For his world.
Right.
This thing is meta. This thing's meta on its side.
Like I don't even know how to.
You look like you're going through crisis right now.
It's hurting my brain.
I can tell.
I am being physically injured by my brain right now.
You thought my lightning lane description was confusing.
Yeah, I know.
Lightyear. It's you name something with an L and it comes up an L. But this is going to be a great story. That I can guarantee. It's got a cat named Socks in it. Big cats. I made the joke first here, people.
You heard it here first and last.
Let's
probably
maybe.
Oh boy, we got to take a break.
We do. This episode's clocking in at 2 hours.
This is gonna be a marathon episode, folks. Strap in.
Last one was a little
Go
lean.
get some Gatorade.
We're gonna make up for it now.
We're gonna take a break, and when we come back, we're going back to 1997.
Yeah,
when Star Wars was a franchise, people were like, "Star what now? Star Trek?" Because I've seen a lot of Star Trek lately.
Yep.
And you go, no. But they has generally been forgotten about until the special edition came back out into theaters, and I would argue changed the direction of Star Wars forever.
Yeah.
Star Wars. For an entire generation, you've only been able to see it on a TV screen. Now, Star Wars is back on the big screen. There'll be no one to stop us this time. With newly enhanced visual effects, digital sound, and a few new surprises. Star Wars, the special edition, starts Friday at theaters everywhere. Rated PG.
We're getting into it right now?
Right now.
I gotta take a sippy of my water.
Okay. Here it goes. There it is. You should have put a little Kool-Aid in there. A little high C fruit punch.
Oh, yeah. A little ecto cooler.
Yeah, ecto cooler.
Yeah.
Get in there. Mix it up.
Capri Sun?
Definitely.
Capri Sun's great, right?
It was great when Squeeze-Its were around. Squeeze-Its, Capri Sun.
Do you remember Pop-Its?
What's a Pop-It?
A Pop-It
was a Midwest version of a Squeeze-It?
No. It was like, I think it came out before Squeeze-Its.
Okay.
And it was like or maybe it was called, I think it was called Pop-Its. And it was a powdered drink that came in like an accordion-sized bottle. And you would unscrew the bottle and then unaccordion it and then fill it up and shake it up.
I don't remember that.
Yeah.
Genius. I love drinking out of an accordion.
Yeah.
It's one of my 3 favorite shapes. I like octagons, accordions.
I like a good trapezoid.
Trapezoid cup.
I'm a big fan of a good trapezoid.
We already did the Patreon. Let's get into some Star Wars.
Hey, so January 31st was the
last day of January. Some might call it February Eve.
I wasn't ready for the segment.
I guess not.
I wasn't ready for the segment.
No flipping cookies in here. All I have is piano cleaner.
Hey, do you want to know something about the cookies?
Tell me.
I went to go get cookies today.
They're like, we heard about you.
No cookies.
Huh?
There were no cookies.
Let me do that again. Huh?
There were no cookies, and there were 5 donuts.
Oh.
For an entire university. Really? No cookies and 5 donuts. And I went to the person who's in charge of the cookies.
Right, cookie guy.
And I said,
cookie manager.
This has been day 2 with no cookies. What's going on? And I said, and don't tell me supply chain.
Yeah.
Guess what?
Supply
chain.
Cookie time's really been constrained right now.
It's really big constraint. You know what it was? They were probably like, that guy took 8 cookies.
Did you see when he had a bowl? He took a whole bowl of cookies out of here.
Nuh-uh. Not anymore.
I bet he hates donuts. Bring donuts in.
But you know what? I don't hate donuts.
I don't hate donuts either.
I love donuts.
Basically the same ingredients. I don't understand what the problem is.
That's what happened yesterday. I went to go get cookies. No cookies. So I was like, maple donut? Yeah, it's the same thing.
Sure.
So I ate a maple donut.
Yeah, right
at
on.
1 o'clock in the afternoon.
Yum. Nap at the desk.
I'm a gigantic fat man.
Yeah. What happened to Scott? Why is he sleeping on the ground? He had a maple donut at 1. He's 46. Yeah.
He can't do that. He's going to be up all night.
He'll be up later. He'll be okay. Let's talk about Star Wars.
Let's talk about Star Wars.
Yes.
25 years ago.
Yeah, last week.
25 years ago and a week.
Yes.
The Star Wars special editions came out, were released into theaters.
Yes.
This during 1997. And during this time, and up until this time, from 1983, when Return of the Jedi came out, until 1997, there was no Star Wars.
Yeah.
The only Star Wars that was there was very, very niche, very fan-based, definitely not broad-based in any way.
Yeah. When you say no stories, you mean there were no movies, but you just mean it wasn't talked about. It wasn't in the lexicon and the daily dealings. Is that what you mean when you say there was no Star Wars during that time?
It had fallen out of the pop culture consciousness, right? Yeah. I don't think a lot of people were thinking about it.
Yeah.
Like diehard fans were diehard fans, but there were no toys on the shelves at that point.
Right.
There were video games being made. Dark Forces was a very famous video game that came out, first-person shooter.
Of the first.
X-Wing and TIE Fighter were pilot simulations, dogfighting simulations that came out during that time. But for all intents and purposes, Star Wars was pretty much not thought about anymore.
Right.
After Return of the Jedi came out, there were the Droids animated series and the Ewoks animated series, but there wasn't a lot of support for Star Wars. And like I said, with the exception of a few of these video games that came out here and there just wasn't a lot of fandom was still deep, but there wasn't a lot of broad-based fandom.
Yeah.
It is not the Star Wars that we know of now. It wasn't the Marvel, there wasn't Marvel Pictures. It wasn't anything like that. It was a series that was immensely popular, very, very beloved, but just sort of went sleepy.
Yeah.
During that time, there was the Timothy Zahn novels that came out, which were the Heir of the Empire novels. 3 novels that came out during that time in the late 90s.
Yeah.
And Timothy Zahn wrote what was effectively the canon sequels to episodes 4, 5, and 6. And those are Heir to the Empire, Dark Force Rising, and The Last Command. Again, like these books came out, but they were geared specifically toward the Star Wars fan and did not receive a lot of broad appeal. So Star Wars was pretty much forgotten until George Lucas announced that he was going to be doing the Star Wars special editions, and that he was going to be releasing revised versions or upgraded versions of the classic movies once a month. So they released January, February, March into theaters, and with that came like a really cool trailer that talked about how, like, for an entire generation, this is how this is how people experience Star Wars. It was all on a 4x3 TV. And then that broke through the TV, and you had the full widescreen effect.
Yeah.
And it showed some of the special edition upgrades. And then that's when Star Wars came back on the scene with the special edition. So we're at 25 years. Obviously, Star Wars has changed. The perception of Star Wars has changed quite a bit. But I want to go back to 1997 and talk about what your experience was with the special editions, what you remembered about it, whether or not you saw it. Take me on a journey of nostalgia.
I think I was a weird Star Wars fan. I think I was a Star Wars nerd, but it was so ingrained with who I was. I'd watched A New Hope so many times, weekly almost for a period. And I think I had it on Betamax. I don't know what the copy was that I had on Betamax. I want to say I had a letterbox. I want to say I had a letterbox version of it at some point in time, but I know I had it on Betamax or something like that. And so I didn't know that it was weird. I just didn't process that. I didn't think of myself as a nerd or a weird kid. I just thought of me as me. So I didn't know it was weird to watch A New Hope over and over again. I didn't know that was weird. And so I have two pre-97 memories of Star Wars that are, for me, like that is the Star Wars I'm trying to get in touch with. Like, I love all the new stuff, but there's so much now. Like, my time of Star Wars, I've just two memories of it. One was being at summer camp, and I loved summer camp, first of all, but I was away from home. It was a week long and some change.
I always wanted to do that.
And I went every year to a sleepaway summer camp.
Camp Sacramento? Did you go to Camp Sacramento?
No, I wasn't. It was called Westminster Woods in the Alliance Redwoods off of the Bohemian Highway outside of Occidental, California.
Oh, man. Awesome.
Yeah, and I loved it there. And I would get care packages, and I thought I was cool at summer camp. I thought I was a cool guy.
You're probably the coolest.
Maybe, I don't know. But I got a care package.
What made you think you were cool? Was it the Star Wars shirt you were wearing?
No, like I was wearing that stuff, and like the ringer. I had a ringer with the New Hope logo on it, white with blue. I think blue ringer and stuff like that.
I had a white and blue ringer too.
Yeah, and I had an Empire Strikes Back towel, and I don't know. I just didn't think of myself in that way. I just didn't even really know what the word nerd really meant. I just didn't think about that stuff. And I got this care package from my mom, and I opened it up with my friends for the week who were, I think, much cooler than me, and they were listening to things like Dr. Demento and just music I didn't know anything about.
Yeah, maybe a big Monty Python listener.
Yeah, I just didn't know anything about that stuff. I knew Star Wars, and so I opened up this care package, and inside of it was the Star Wars novel. It was a black book that was this thick, and my mom knew I loved Star Wars, and she'd bought it for me to like remind me of home and like read this thing when I was at camp.
It was a novelization of the three movies?
Yeah, it was a novelization of the three movies, and I was like, oh my gosh, I love this. Like, I'm going to sit on my camp bunk, and they're like, what is that? I was like, it's Star Wars. And they were like, the book? And I was like, oh, is this not cool?
Really?
Yeah, I remember just being...
The guys listening to Dr. Demento were making fun of you for reading a Star Wars book? I just want to make sure I understand the environment here.
You did understand that. And so I remember I was very like nervous about reading the book from that on. It was the first time I felt weird about Star Wars, was getting that book at camp. So that's a pre-special edition memory where I was like, I thought we were all in this together.
Hey, wait, we don't all love this thing? This is Star Wars. Have you ever seen Star Wars? You've seen Star Wars. You know what I'm talking about, right?
And then my only other like other than playing with the toys and all that kind of stuff is I went over to a friend's house whose dad owned a computer gaming store like before Egghead, which is even a dated reference, like an indie,
Not even an EB Games.
No, nothing like that. Like, here's some discs. If you take them home, the disc has instructions on how to program the game that's on this disc.
Right, yeah.
Like that kind of thing. And he had a big TV, and they had, I think, a Laserdisc version of A New Hope.
Sure, yeah.
And I think it was a birthday party, and they're like, we're all going to go outside and play and whatever. And I remember going up to him. I can see this room very clearly and being like, would it be cool if I just watched Star Wars on your Laserdisc while you guys did the birthday stuff? And he was like, seriously? And I was like, yeah, I don't
care about that.
I remember
you
telling
have a
him
Laserdisc of Star Wars.
Is it cool? It would really mean a lot to me if you could continue on with your birthday party, but I'm going to watch Star Wars on.
Yeah, right.
And he was like, I guess. And so I remember being alone in this person's house. Their parents were outside. He was outside.
You were just watching Star Wars by yourself?
I was in their house by myself watching A New Hope. And it bothered me so little that I was like, I remember the thought I had. I remember watching it thinking, someday video games are going to look as good as this looks.
Yeah.
And that being like the big takeaway home.
The best thing in the world.
From this person's birthday party. Don't remember a thing about that other than that TV and watching it and being like, it was a good party. I'm like,
yeah,
really?
It was probably the best birthday party you ever went to.
I heard there was swimming and stuff. I don't know.
It was an ideal Aaron Robbins birthday party because you could be by yourself and watch Star Wars and you didn't have to deal with anybody else.
On a TV that was much bigger than my parents would allow me to have.
And also that Laserdisc was also widescreen.
Yeah, letterboxed, I think.
Yeah, letterboxed. And so there was, that was the only way that you could watch the original aspect ratio of Star Wars for a while.
So those are just my two memories of one being like, yeah, I'm willing to not have friends to watch this, and feeling it like a tinge of embarrassment about it.
I don't know if I ever went. I don't think I ever went through that embarrassment. Again, we'll talk pre-special edition.
Yeah.
So again, like my Star Wars fandom, tapers off as I think it normally does. You stop playing with toys at some point when you are, in junior high, whatnot. And so I always had a love of Star Wars, and like you, would just continually watch that movie. I mean, I just remember watching it over and over again, and just wore the VHS out that we had of Star Wars. Other than watching the movie repeatedly, I don't really remember having a fandom outside of that when I was like a teenager in high school. But I remember when I went to college that I ended up becoming friends with a couple of guys that were into role-play gaming.
Oh, yeah.
And they were into Star Wars role-play game. And so I got into Star Wars RPG. And then that was also
before special edition.
This was before special edition. So this is like 1993, 94. Okay. So that was also when when TIE Fighter came out, or X-Wing came out.
Yeah.
And so I played X-Wing. And so it was like, oh man, you like Star Wars? Like you like this underground thing that nobody else ever talks about?
Right.
And so I remember having conversations with these friends about Star Wars. And I hadn't had conversations with friends about Star Wars for a long time, like ever since I was a little kid, pretty much. So it rekindled this thing that I loved and that I knew other people loved about it. And then flash forward, shortly thereafter, I think they re-released the original. This is before the special editions. They re-released the original trilogy on VHS in widescreen letterbox letterbox.
I think
and it was in a slipcase.
I think I remember that. Yeah.
And I remember that and getting that and watching that, and that was the first time I had ever realized that I was watching Star Wars from an aspect ratio that I had not seen since I was a child. And so noticing new things, like I remember specifically in Return of the Jedi, in Jabba's palace, when Luke comes in and he walks off, and a Gamorrean guard walks into the frame, and I'd never seen that before. I never remembered seeing that before because it was always cut out in the Panem scan.
Yeah, totally.
Right? So that was my experience with Star Wars. And then I was also, because I had this sort of rekindled love of Star Wars, then I was trying to find out anything I could about Star Wars. And so I was buying the scripts, the original screenplays, and reading through the original screenplays.
Yeah, I had the Empire Strikes Back screenplay.
And there was a lot of that like fandom-focused stuff. And I also ended up subscribing to the Star Wars Insider, which is like, I became part of the Star Wars fan club.
Of course you did.
Of course I did.
Yeah.
And I would get a monthly magazine about what was happening in Star Wars and doing interviews and behind the scenes and that sort of thing.
How much fun is that?
It was great.
What was that magazine like? Was it like more printed on paper? Was it more like glossy photos?
It was a glossy magazine.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it was great. And I mean, maybe it came out.
How do you get a hold of that? How do you know that that's a thing that you can become a part of?
Gosh, I'm trying to remember how I found out about it. I think maybe I picked up I think maybe I picked up a magazine of it at Suncoast Video. Do you remember Suncoast Video?
I do remember Suncoast. Yeah, absolutely.
Where that was like a movie lovers store.
Yep.
In the mall.
That was the store. My parents were like, I think you can go in there, but I'm not sure, so maybe you don't. And I'm like, I think it's fine.
I think it's fine. And it was, but it was like a very like
in malls.
And if you loved movies and you wanted to find out what was happening in movies, and you or like you wanted to order a special, like you would have to pre-order stuff.
Cinefx magazine, that little like behind the stuff scenes.
Yeah,
stuff
or like
in there.
Starlog. I remember Starlog magazine was another one. So I think it was probably one of the.
Totally.
I probably picked up a magazine. Maybe it wasn't Star Wars Insider. Maybe it was like a Starlog or an SFX.
I love
type
that,
of thing.
man.
And then in there was like, subscribe to the Star Wars fan club.
Yeah,
and so
you were like,
did.
I'm doing that.
And
I got all hopped up on Nintendo Power. I couldn't have two fan clubs.
Oh, this was after I sunset Nintendo Power. I'm
okay,
sure.
Yeah, you went into this.
I was like, I can only have one.
Totally.
I can only have one super geeky fandom. And so I subscribed to Star Wars Insider, and that's when I first learned about the special editions.
Yeah,
it was because they ran
because of that.
And then started seeing things coming. I was like, oh, did you hear that this thing's coming out? And
Only other thing I remember, and I want to know if you remember, I can remember going into arcades and listening for the sound of that Star Wars game.
The vector graphic one?
The vector graphic one, which I loved. I loved that game. And if
you can get an arcade 1-up machine of that. Did you know
really?
that? Yeah.
Red 5 standing by.
Yahoo!
You're all clear, kid!
I loved it. I still to this day. I mean, I would play it all the time because I was so in love with Star Wars and loved video games and loved arcades. And that one had Luke's voice on it. Like,
yeah,
it was a
that's
real
right.
scratchy vocal track, but it had it on it. I'm still to this day not sure if that game was amazing or horrible because I don't even still.
Could it be both?
Yeah, I guess it could be. I don't even remember when you go into the trench run. Like I don't even really know what the rules are of that in the game. I'm like, I guess my cursor can't hit this.
Not
thing.
To mention, I'm not sure what I'm aiming at.
Right.
I'm not sure what I'm supposed to be avoiding.
Right. There's a lot of colors. Some of them are red. For me, everything's like I don't know what I'm doing.
And it's
in this.
again vector graphics, so it's just all lines.
It's all lines
with no dimension whatsoever.
But it played the music, and when you blew up the Death Star, it made snowflakes, and I was like, "This is the best Star Wars thing ever." So I remember always seeking out
sit-down cabinet. Did you play in the sit-down cabinet?
Yeah, I played, and the joystick was very different than any other game. It had two side handles that felt like you were flying a TIE fighter, but you weren't. You were flying an X-wing.
Right.
I loved that thing, and that was a very pre-special edition. There were no
very much so.
I think there was maybe a pinball machine and that cabinet.
Again, there wasn't a lot of Star Wars stuff at that point,
and there were the micro mini machine Star Wars sets.
Yeah, that's right.
Which were die-cast figures on like Hoth, and I had
those things were amazing. I always wanted those. I never got one.
Yeah,
I always wanted one.
I got them because I had learning disabilities, and when I did good on my exercises for my learning disabilities, I got to buy a set.
Man, I wish I had learning disabilities.
I know, it's awesome.
Man, having learning disabilities is the best.
Yeah, you get a marble jar, and then when you don't fail a test, you get to put a marble in it.
See?
And that thing goes on the line. It's Hoth set all in with
smart
ion
kid.
cannon.
I got nothing for it.
Nothing.
Nothing.
Too bad.
Yeah,
now all you got is this podcast.
Look at that. This is what smarts get you.
Yeah, and I remember, so as we'll go into the special editions, I remember seeing the special editions, and this is just the way my brain works.
Yeah.
It doesn't work right, but
it works great.
It works differently.
I'm a big fan of it.
I remember seeing the special edition posters and stuff like that. I wasn't really connected into the insider thing and thinking, oh, it's special that the movies are coming back out, but there's nothing different about the
special
movies.
Thing.
That's
they were just re-releasing them.
So we went to I think I was probably maybe with Teresa at this point in time, but we went to the theaters not far from your house and where you live.
Oh, the
now.
old domes?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep, the old domes. Yeah. And saw them, and I remember thinking it's special because they haven't been back in theater, but there's nothing different about the movie.
Really? So the marketing did not work on you in any way.
And that's how it goes. Like, I choose to hear what I hear. You know this from my pinball thing.
It's true.
What I hear is what I hear.
I just make up what I hear, and that's what I hear.
So true.
And I don't verify it in any way, shape, or form.
No, and so I get disappointed frequently because I'm like, what? I think there's some different stuff in these movies.
Wait a second.
Hold on. These
this isn't the Star Wars I remember. Yeah. This wasn't on the Laserdisc that I watched during a birthday party.
Yeah, that's what I thought it was. Special because it's in the theater for a limited time.
So you had no idea that they were going to be doing these changes to this.
How would little Aaron Robbins know that? I didn't even know you could do that.
Dude, you weren't little Aaron Robbins. You were like 20 years old at this point.
Yeah, that's
21.
True. Yeah. Still little Aaron Robbins.
Yeah, little Aaron Robbins.
I didn't know that.
You're still wearing your bonnet?
You could do that. Here's how I thought movies worked when I was 21. Like, they finished that movie, it's done. It's like
that's how most people thought movies worked until the special editions came out.
I didn't know that you could even do that.
I don't think many people did.
Yeah.
Cue the reasons why.
They reshoot it? What's going on with this thing?
Yeah, they plus quote unquote plus it up. They made special versions of it. So those special versions came out.
Yep. One a month, huh?
One a month. Yeah,
Do you feel like that was right? Do you feel like they should have done one a year or one every? Do you feel like that was right? Just get them out and get it done with.
I think now these were the precursors. This was a temperature test for the prequels.
Yeah, for the prequels. Yep.
Because the prequels came out 2 years afterwards, and so they were already in pre-production of the prequels when these things released. And it really was hey, is there a fandom here? Are people craving to see this? So I think for me as a fan, the fact that they came out once a month was really exciting because it was like because I remember when they went. I mean, I went to the movie theater the day that tickets went on sale. I went and bought them for the opening night, the first showing. I got all my friends
in Michigan,
together.
or where is this at?
This is in Michigan.
Okay,
and I got all my friends, and it was like, we're gonna go see Star Wars. It's gonna be on the big screen. It's gonna be awesome. So there was like 10, 12 of us that all went together on that opening night. And so the idea of like, we're going to go see Star Wars, and now we're not just going to go see Star Wars. We're going to see all of the Star Wars trilogy once a month in the theater was a really big deal. So I really think the momentum of having that released one after the other really did a good job because it kept Star Wars fresh and in sort of the zeitgeist. Whereas I think if they just released it once per year, it would have tapered off because what Star Wars was fighting against. This is very different than like the Disney Vault. Because
you
when
could
the
still watch Star Wars.
Yeah, you could still watch it.
People still had VHS.
You could go to Suncoast Video and you could go buy it at Suncoast Video. Yeah. Unlike the Disney Vault, where it was like, hey, you can only buy this for a specific period of time, and then you can't access it again unless
you got to get a babysitting job and hope the person you're babysitting for has Pinocchio.
Exactly. So, what Lucasfilm was effectively fighting against itself in the home video market. And so I think releasing it one after the other really did a good job.
Yeah,
now,
I think you're right, yeah.
The challenge is the changes that were made, I think, became very, very divisive within the fan community. And that's when you really started to see, at least my first perception of a fandom owning the creative work and no longer the creator owning the creative work. And the Han shot first, that gets introduced. Jabba the Hutt gets introduced in A New Hope. Lots of these little changes that when interviewed, Lucas would say, well, I made these changes because they better reflect my vision of what the movie should be. And then fans reacting and saying, yes, but that's not what we grew up with. Yeah. And our vision of what Star Wars is what you gave us, not what you thought it was going to be or what you want it to be.
And the history of art, an artist going back to a canvas that has been shown is rarely, and I'm going to go say never, is that a good idea to revisit your canvas. Once your painting is done.
Yeah, once you've released your thing.
And people have looked at it and had time with it, you don't go like, you know what that line should be. I'm going to go and like, it just rarely is a good idea.
Yeah.
And I remember going and watching them. And again, you have to deal with little Aaron Robbins' brain, how my brain works. And I remember some of the scenes. I don't remember the Greedo thing. Like the first time I watched it, I didn't pick up on the difference that first time that I watched it.
Really? That's interesting because of having such an encyclopedic knowledge of that movie.
I got really caught watching that movie and how did they do all that? So I almost stopped watching in the theater and thinking like, wait, how do they do this? Is this even possible? And I got really wrapped up with that, especially the Death Star explosion. I remember being in the theater and seeing that Death Star explosion and being like, why would it blow up in a ring like that in space? How does that make sense? Like technically,
you just got done watching 90 plus minutes of spaceships fighting each other.
Yes.
And a giant robot man with a laser sword slicing
he had a
through
laser
people.
sword for sure.
And you're like, I don't really buy this whole ring explosion. Is that what you're trying to tell me?
Yeah, that's what happened. And so I remember hearing this stuff about Han shot first. And I really thought, you're just going to have to deal with me, Scott.
I will. I have been. I am as a 92 episodes.
I know. I really thought that was a reference to Cloud City when Han walks in and Darth Vader's at the table.
And he pulls out his blaster.
And he pulls out, he's just shooting him. And people are trying to say that, like, he should have tried to talk to him diplomatically. Han's just a murderer. And so in my head, I've got this whole narrative.
Oh, my gosh.
Of the world being upset with Han because he just tries to execute Darth Vader. And that's not fair. They should have had a conversation and tried to work it out.
That's what you thought Han Shoots First was all about?
for probably,
after you have seen this movie?
Yeah, for probably a year, that's what I thought it was. And I was like, look, he was all amped up. He probably shouldn't have tried to shoot Darth Vader. He probably should have sat down. Clearly, they were going to have a meal and talked things out.
They were just going to work out their differences.
They were going to work out their differences.
Yeah.
And then I was like, oh, the Greedo thing. I get it now.
So you didn't pick up on the Greedo thing when you saw it in the theater?
In the theaters, I did not pick it up.
That's
I only picked it up through the
fascinating to me.
zeitgeist later that's what had happened.
I remember seeing that scene and going, ugh. Like, just the special effects were really bad to begin with.
In the theater? Because that scene is really quick in the movie.
It's very quick, but
but it's also early in the movie, so it sets you up to not enjoy the rest of the stuff they add to Mos Eisley is funky.
Well, that's true. I mean, and I think we should go through the things that we liked best or least in the special edition trilogy. The changes that they made. For me, when I was watching this movie, I was acutely aware of what the differences were going to be.
Okay.
Like, I was looking for like, oh, that's different. Oh, okay, that's a new thing. So when it came to Han and Greedo, when that happened, I was like, that's not the way this works.
Right.
Like, Han shoots first. Like, and the way and the way they did the dodging, it looked like they basically just cut and pasted. They cut Harrison Ford's face and just sort of pasted it a couple inches, over his shoulder.
Yeah.
So the special effect didn't work for me, and it was just like, oh wow, this is really bad. And then shortly thereafter is the Jabba the Hutt scene, where when that came out, they've improved Jabba over the decades.
In that
scene, they've improved him because the first version of that is really atrocious. Like,
it is
very, very atrocious.
Very small, very slug-like, and you're like, he looked bigger in Return of the Jedi.
Yeah, exactly.
Like a lot bigger.
Very big.
And the play toy of Jabba the Hutt by Kenner, he's big.
And he looks, and the play toy by Kenner looks the way Jabba looks in Return of the Jedi, which is not the way Jabba looks in Special Edition New Hope.
Right.
And then they did the thing where Han walks over Jabba's tail and Jabba sort of does like this cartoonish reaction where it goes like that.
Yeah.
And it just, for me, it betrays how cool Jabba the Hutt is.
Yeah.
And it sort of makes him it clowns him, right?
Yeah.
And
it makes him a little boss Nazi.
Yeah, it makes him a little boss Nazi. Yeah, you're right. And so that's where it was like the 1-2 punch for me of like, this is not good. There are things that I love. First of all, I can't believe I'm seeing this in the movie theater.
Totally.
Second of all, there are some special effects that are blowing me away right now. But those two things in particular are just like, that is really bad. And fans are justified in not liking those. And I think fans are justified in demanding that the original versions be released. Like, you can have your special editions, that's fine, but release the original versions that we grew up with.
Yeah, I remember thinking that, like, why can't I just watch the original? Like, why can't I just watch it the way I want to watch it?
Yeah,
and still to this day, not really understanding that, other than I'm an artist, this is my vision, this is what and I'm almost upset that you guys didn't like it.
Yeah,
so now you're stuck with it, which is like George Lucas has taken so much unfair heat that maybe that's his right to do that. I don't know.
I think you're right that he's taken unfair heat, but I think fans are very justified in this heat. Like, it's his stubbornness. It's his stubbornness that said, like, no, you don't get that because that's an inferior version of the thing that I made.
It's such a weird transference of something that he made. He thought he put his neck, like, he liked Star Wars before anybody else did because he was there filming it and directing it. And I know that's about his wife doing the editing. Like, I get it. Like, the guy's not the most talented movie maker in the whole world. He did make Star Wars.
Yeah.
He was there. And so it's this thing that he liked before all of us. He gives it to the world and we're like, it's ours now. And he's like, I don't get a say in it at all. And they're like, yeah, we don't like your say anymore. And I get that some of his stuff's cheesy and his dialogue's horrible, but it still is a weird transference of a very personal, very thing to the world. And then it's like, it's like it's your kids growing up and leaving you and not wanting to come home anymore. It sucks.
I guess so. A
little bit. Like, I know it's not.
Bit.
I think it stinks for him. Over the years, I think it stinks. I think it kind of stinks for him.
I think you're right. I mean, I think it's interesting because fandom being what it is, true fans hate the thing that they love most, right? I mean, there's just that weirdness where it's like, it doesn't match up with what I imagine it should be, or, I have ownership over this thing and you don't. I feel like the special editions are right to be divisive for fans.
Yeah.
And I think as a result, it would make sense. It would show love for the fans. It would show love for the thing that people, it would show love for the fandom that this thing created.
The history and nostalgia that people have with those, that the movie is not just a watching experience, it is a connection to your growing up.
Yeah.
You've changed my growing up.
I feel exactly like you are erasing or changing the memories that I have of this thing. And I can't, it's like when we talk about theme park attractions, right? When you get rid of a theme park attraction, you cannot experience the nostalgia of that theme park attraction because it's gone.
Right.
There is nothing that you can
said I was
do.
going to be sad over Toon Town. Not a great land. And I was just like,
but it's like, I can't revisit it ever again.
Totally.
And I think the special editions do the same thing. It's like, you can't go back to this.
Yeah.
But there's no good reason to not allow you to go back to it because technology allows you the opportunity to say, you want to watch a director's cut? Watch a director's cut. You want to watch the original theatrical cut? You've got that as well. It seems to be that there is more love for Star Wars fandom and the original cuts that people experience as a kid with the fans than there is with the owners of the property themselves. Be them Lucas or Disney. Yeah,
I can understand that. I've just since then have, tried to understand Mr. Lucas's position in that, we say we hate the prequels. I will say I have problems with the prequels, and I still watch them every year. I still watch every one, probably every year, but I don't go over to his house and tell him good job. I don't send him an email. Yeah. He just sort of
You're not sending him a card.
No, he just sort of sits in this isolation chamber of it seems like everybody hates everything that I do, and when I do what I want to do, they hate it. When I do what they want to do, they hate it. And I'm not saying it's unfair because he sold it for quite a lot of money. And I think he's fine. I think
he's gonna be okay.
I think he's okay. Yeah. But I do think it's just a weird thing that he took something that everybody loved and turned that into something that you just can't win. You just can't win. We don't like anything that you do. Other than that, we still kind of love it.
But see, that's where I differ. He can win. He could have won.
Yeah.
He could have won by saying, "Okay, this is my version. This is my vision. This is the way I think Star Wars should have been." It's George Lucas's cut.
Yeah.
And here's what they actually call the original theatrical cut.
Yeah.
The GOUT. That's what they call it. George's original theatrical cut is the actual term for the movie that was released in 1977. Those two things can coexist.
Absolutely.
And quite frankly, going back to the news that we talked about, like if Disney wants to figure out how to goose Disney Plus to get more subscribers, I think if they were to say, hey, we're releasing the original theatrical cuts of Star Wars and they're going to live alongside the special editions, like fans would pay for that. I think probably even some people that are not fans would pay for it to go like, oh, I'm going to watch this version. I want to see what the differences were because I'm not a big enough fan to be able to know what the differences are.
The internet would be very tolerant of this is the gout or whatever you call it. This is the 77 version. That's that. And you can watch that and that never changes. It will always be here. And then we have this thing that's just evolving. It's got McClunky in it. It's
right.
And then you have this thing that it's like a theme park ride. It gets plussed over the years. And as long as I think the internet would be very tolerant of that.
I think they would crave it.
Yeah. You want to watch the crazy one that they've added to in CGI and they constantly
see
it will
all
never
the changes.
Star Wars will never, A New Hope will never be done as long as there's money to be made.
Right,
we have that version, and then we have the 77, and I think that's great. It was the taking away that I think was a problem, and that the changes were not just color grading, digitizing spaceships. There was some storytelling stuff that was not good.
Right.
Not cool.
I think if the special editions amounted to, let's do the whiz bang of Mos Eisley, like the hustle and bustle of Mos Eisley, or the improvement of the spaceships and that sort of thing, cleaning up matte lines and whatnot. Like if it was just those things, I don't think there would ever be a concern of saying like we want the original cuts. I think people would go like, yeah, this is great. This is exactly in our mind. This is what this movie looked like. Right. To your point, like it is the story changes that cause people to the character changes. Like, Han Solo is a different character as a result of special editions than he was in the original cut. And that's a problem. I think fans are right to be miffed about that. Totally. And I think you see that by the efforts that have been made by these fans that have made 4K versions of the original theatrical cuts.
I mean, I think the ones that I like now are just the ones that I said that when I watch it now, the color grading is amazing. Yeah. Like that is amazing. The extended spaceship shots of approaching, approaching Cloud City. There's just, and the wider
the Cloud City stuff is fantastic in Empire Strikes Back.
And I can remember when those finally came in, I remember doing a lot of pausing and looking at because this was the first time you got to see those things at a larger scale. Yeah. And I just didn't even really understand. Yeah, like it really, and so even this is a story change. Seeing Mos Eisley in that size changes in my mind what totally it was when I grew up. Like it was like, I don't know, there's 6 buildings there, and they mostly like to drink. That's what they do. Yeah,
exactly. It's like this outskirts town, right?
Yeah, I never. It changes the way you would have played Star Wars. I never thought of Mos Eisley or Mos Espa, any of those as civilization centers. Yeah, right. Like that. Right. So I know I like those, and then I think. I don't remember a lot of what the differences are between them. Yeah. The blowing up thing bothered me because
the explosion ring, which I love. I love the explosion
ring. I'm not an explosion ring fan. Yeah. It's too much and it's too glorious for me. From the old explosion's just so bad and it twinkles a little bit.
It does. The old explosion looks like a basketball got shot with a rifle.
Somebody held some sparklers inside.
Yeah, exactly.
I loved that.
Filled it with powdered sugar or something like that and then blew it up.
I don't need to do a breakdown. I liked all the environment stuff.
You big fan of that Cy Snoodles number, that Jedi Rocks number that they did in Return of the Jedi special edition?
I don't remember it.
They took out Cy Snoodles in the Max Rebo band and they replaced it with a fully CGI Cy Snoodles and then did an actual musical number where they have backup singers and dancers. Yeah. And it's atrocious. Yeah. It's absolutely atrocious. All the Boba Fett pandering in those movies, like they insert Boba Fett in a bunch of different scenes just for the sake of making him cooler. And you're just like, come on. He's just like a Boba Fett. There's a lot of Boba Fett mugging that goes on. Like he looks at the screen like, hey, you know me. Right. I'm Boba Fett.
That was cereal after me. How weird is it though that like not a throwaway character, but I'm going to go just upset people and say Boba Fett, a somewhat throwaway character.
Yeah. A tertiary character.
A tertiary at best character.
Best. Right.
You tell George Lucas in whatever 83, like this character was actually going to be the downfall of the entire Star Wars universe because in 2000 whatever you sell it to Disney, they make this show called Boba Fett, and then you change everything, and this one character, he's like, I still put it in because it is the best character.
Do you understand? Hundreds of people that have Boba Fett tattoos are going to be permanently affected and scarred by this.
Yeah,
put them in.
Put them in.
We
should do a TV show about it too.
No, that's what we're telling you. We're telling you that they're going to do that. It's going to be bad. I'm from
really
the future.
Bad.
I'm from the year 2022.
Take Boba Fett out. It saves the Disney company.
No, look how cool he is.
It saves Star Wars. Look, it is cool. It's the coolest armor that's ever been made in any time period. He's macking on those
alien girls. Look at him.
It's cool, but it will ruin your franchise. In 2022, it ends up being the thing.
Put it in English. As George Lucas.
The special editions.
I guess we'll put it in.
Yeah.
That's the special editions.
Yeah.
Go ahead and watch them on Disney+. Now, bear in mind that the changes that we're talking about, they have been changed over and over again.
Yeah.
So, for example, like they reinserted, or they put Ian McDermott, who is the Emperor, and they did a pickup for him.
Yeah.
In the Empire Strikes Back, and they've changed his dialogue over the years multiple times.
Have they really?
Yeah.
That insert when he's a hologram up above,
That's
that
right.
one, that's a little weird looking.
The original, you mean the original one or?
Both.
Yeah, the original one I grew up with, and I'm just sort of like, that's what the Emperor looks like.
Yeah, he's scary.
He's scary. He's weird. He's got pop-out eyes.
Yeah, yeah.
And then they put Ian McDermott in there, and he's just sort of like this, I don't know, he looks like he's wearing a Ruby's Halloween mask of the Emperor.
I remember that being a little weird.
And it just feels a little weird. None of it really works for me in a weird way. The last one that I will say that really bugs me, which I don't know if you experienced, they've since taken this out, so you cannot watch this anymore. You can watch it on YouTube.
How are we supposed to talk about the movie when they keep changing it?
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, you can go, like, they made this change. It may still be in there by the time you listen to this episode.
It's so weird.
But Empire Strikes Back, when, Vader reveals to Luke that he is his father and he says, join me, and together we can rule the galaxy as father and son, he makes a conscious decision to let go, right? In the special editions.
In the originals.
The original, he makes a conscious
I'm trying to remember
decision,
what that scene looks like.
Conscious decision to let go and drops
There's like
off.
there's like a look of defiance in his eyes.
Yeah, and resolve. Like, okay, I'm not going to join you. I'm going to do this.
Yeah.
In the special editions, they add a scream as he falls, as if he slipped off the thing.
I wonder if they use that famous scream, whatever that scream.
The Wilhelm scream?
Yeah.
Oh, that'd be great if they did.
Why do they do that? Why do you think? Why do you think?
I don't know. That's what I'm saying. These are the changes where you go like, George Lucas's statement is, I'm making these changes because I'm trying to realize the movie that I wanted to make. And you go like, I don't think you wanted to make that movie.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure if you wanted to add, a sixth grader's girlish scream in there, you could have done that in post at any moment.
Yeah.
It did not take 20 years of filmmaking to get to this point. There's special editions. You should watch them, and you should watch the compilations on YouTube. Like the changes that they made, they're fascinating to watch.
Those are not short videos either, though. They're each from weighing in about 30 minutes to just catalog all the changes per release.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
It's fun to watch, though.
Yeah.
Fun to watch. Fun to talk about. This is a fun talk about.
I thought it was fun. Let's go to an arcade.
Yeah, let's go to an arcade.
All right.
Let's play that Star Wars sit-down arcade.
Yeah.
All right. Well, everybody,
thanks for listening.
While you're checking out those special edition changes on YouTube, why don't you go over to the Bobsleds and Banthas YouTube channel?
Just subscribe. You don't have to listen.
Just subscribe.
There you go.
We don't ask you to listen. We just ask you to click the subscribe button.
There you go.
Make us happy. This has been Bobsleds and Banthas. We release every week on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Facebook Podcasts, and now YouTube.
Yeah.
And now I can say wherever you listen to podcasts. Yep. I've been saying that for 91 episodes.
But it hasn't been true, Scott.
But it's been a false promise.
Yep.
Now it's a true promise.
Yep.
You can listen wherever you listen to podcasts. You can do that. We can also be heard on the Magic of the Mouse radio every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. Check out Magic of the Mouse radio for the best Disney music and podcasts 24/7 by visiting WDisB, or
you can go to bobsledsandbanthas.com / type in special edition, backspace out of that, type in radio.
And then you hit your enter button.
You can. Or you can
should.
Well, you can will it with the Force too.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Yeah,
too.
I just installed that Force plugin.
The Force plugin?
Yeah.
Is that Chrome extension?
It is, yeah.
Okay, good.
You think about it really hard, it goes there.
Boom. So you can do that. Please be sure to follow us on Apple Podcasts. We would love it if you left us a 5-star review there. We would love it if you left us a 5-star on Spotify.
Written review.
A written review would be even better.
Say hi.
Say hi. We want to know what you think about the show.
Yeah.
It helps other people find out about that show. Thank you so much for listening to us.
Yeah.
You can visit us, bobslesandbanthas.com. You can email us, podcast@bobslesandbanthas.com. If you have a show idea, a collaboration idea, something you want us to talk about, we would love to hear it. And again, we really, really appreciate all of our patrons. Thank you so much for supporting us. Patreon.com /bobslesandbanthas, where you can subscribe at the Banthateer level and get a lot of fun content that we put out there, a lot of extra podcasts.
Yeah.
Extra podcasts that we put out there of talking about the things that we love.
That's for sure.
That is for sure. You can wear us at tpublic.com, and you can join the Banthateers for all the fun we have on Instagram. We are at Bobsleds and Banthas, because that's the name of this podcast.
That is the name of the podcast.
That's right.
Sometimes we do little live streams before the show.
Sometimes we do that. If I have enough battery power on my phone. Aaron, do you have anything else you'd like to say?
Look, sometime in the future, Somebody's be listening to this episode and they're driving down I-5 right now. Yeah. I don't know where you're going. Maybe
I
you're
call
going home.
The 5.
The 5?
Yeah.
Or I-5. You're headed down to Disneyland, maybe. Maybe you're heading home. Maybe you're a trucker just listening to Bobsleds and Banthas. I just want you to know.
Yeah.
Ultimately, I made this podcast
for you.
For you.
That's right.
In my head, I always picture somebody on I-5 driving. If that's you, thanks for listening. My heart's with you tonight. Whatever that road looks like, it's my favorite road.
Long and lonesome road.
It is a long. Parts of it are long and lonesome. Yeah. Maybe when you're listening into the future, it's in and outs and Carl's Jr.'s every exit, so you're fine.
You think the 99 is more of a long and lonesome road than the 5?
No, definitely not.
You don't think so?
I think it's a less lonesome road. I still think it's long, but it's not lonesome. You go through more towns on I-5.
I guess you're right.
Yeah. Right. Stretch I-5 is what this podcast exists for.
If you're listening to this on I-75, long freeway that takes you from tip of northern Michigan all the way down to the
What's it look like?
What's
the
boringest
part of that drive? What's the boringest part of I-75? I've never been on it. What's it look like? I can describe I-5. It's flat on one side. It's flat in the middle. Hills on both sides.
I-75, you go through a lot of different terrain. You go through cornfields. You go through Smoky Mountains. You go down into Georgia. I think for me, driving through all of Georgia is a little tiring.
Okay,
so
why?
Because you spend about 4 hours in Georgia.
Going through Georgia?
Yeah, and the thing is, you go through the entire length of Georgia. You know,
How cool is it, though, that on your journey to Disney World, if you were raising kids over there, you'd be like, oh, we're in this state now, and we're in this state now. Here, it's just, I'm still in California.
I will say, that is the fun thing, where you're like, oh, we're in Tennessee now. Okay, we're moving through, or we're in Kentucky. We're moving through Kentucky now.
That's cool. I think that is cool.
Fun. The problem is that because Georgia is the last state you hit before you hit Florida, when you're like, we're in Florida, and we're going to be hitting Disney World really soon, you got to drive through all of Georgia.
All of Georgia,
which again is like 3-4 hours. I think 4 hours, maybe even 5 hours. So that's a long state to drive through before you hit northern Florida. And even when you hit northern Florida, you're like, hey, guess what? We have 3.5 more hours until we get to Disney World.
Yeah.
So whether you're leaving Florida or you're coming into Florida, Georgia's a long state.
Georgia's rough. Gotcha.
Through, but it's a lovely state.
Right.
Drive right through Atlanta. Fantastic.
Yeah. I believe they filmed Cobra Kai there.
I believe you're right.
Yeah.
So, if you're listening to this on I-75...
Nice. Strike first.
Strike hard.
And keep that pedal going.
That's right.
Yeah.
Until next week.
I've been Absolute Aaron Robbins.
And I have been your co-host, Scott Storm.
No, my friend, I will always be your co-host on this show.
No. Remember the second episode you got upset because I called you my co-host?
Oh, yeah.
You're like, why am I your co-host? I was
What's
like, whoa,
deal?
buddy. I'm just doing an intro here.
No. Let's get things straight right away, because I'm going to get business cards.
And it's going to say host.
Mine's going to say hostess with the mostest, and I'm going to go HOSTESS. Hostess?
Yeah.
With the mostest. There you go. Thanks for listening.
Hey, thanks for listening to Bobsleds and Banthas.
I've been Boba Fett's and Banthas.
We will see you next week for Boba Fett's and Banthas.
That's true. Boba Fett's and Banthas next week.
Walt Disney's Magic Kingdom Disneyland is growing every day. This Saturday night. Now there are more new rides for more fun.
In electro-synthomagnetic musical sound. Through the magic of light and sound.
Yes, there's more fun at Disneyland in Anaheim. Open every day, 10 a.m. to 10 p.m.
You can waste time with your friends when your chores are done.